Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for watching. Today we're going to continue the carry ammo series that I started a few weeks ago, and we have a whole new batch of ammo to test today, which we'll get to in a second. But if you're new to these videos, what we do is we test several different types of ammo in ballistics gel, and we use a smaller, more concealable gun to see how these bullets perform out of a shorter length barrel, since that is what most people carry on a daily basis. So the gun that I use in these videos is my Glock 43. This is a subcompact single stack 9mm handgun, and the ballistics gel that I use is 20% clear ballistics gel. I have a new block in the front, an older block in the back. There is a couple wound channels in that second block from a rifle test that I did, but they should not get in our way. So after the last video, I asked you guys if you wanted to see bare gel and heavy clothing tests with the same batch of ammo, and after reading your guys' answers, I think I'm going to stick with just the heavy clothing test from now on. I personally like the bare gel, and there was a couple of you guys who also said you would like to see the bare gel, but the majority of you guys asked to see the heavy clothing test only, and I do think that that's probably the more accurate test. Also, I don't want to waste ballistics gel ammo and stuff like that making repetitive videos if you guys don't want to see them. So we are going to stick with the heavy clothing test, and for those of you who are new to these videos, the heavy clothing test is the same kit that the FBI uses. I already have it taped to my gel block. It is a thin t-shirt layer, a thick t-shirt layer, a layer of heavy fleece material, and a layer of denim. So I am going to go ahead and get this ammo out, and I will show you guys the first round that we're going to be shooting today. Alright guys, the first round I'm going to shoot today is the Corbon DPX 115 grain plus P. You can see the bullet there, and it says the velocity on these is 1,250 feet per second. So let's see how these do in our heavy clothing test. Alright, so our Corbon went into the gel block and immediately looks like it started to expand, traveled down the gel, and stopped right there. Now, I'm not sure if you guys can see that, but that bullet opened up quite a bit. I've never tested these before, so I'm not sure how they're supposed to perform, if those petals are supposed to fold all the way down or not, but it does look like it expanded quite a bit to me and performed pretty well also. It definitely did not over-penetrate, which seems to be the problem with the heavy clothing test, and it stayed inside of our first gel block. And the 115 grain plus P Corbon stopped just short of 1 foot into our first gel block. Alright, the next bullet we're going to test is the 115 grain SIG V-Crown 365. These are actually designed for small concealed carry pistols like the Glock 43. And it says the muzzle velocity is 1,050 feet per second. So let's load it up and see how it does in our heavy clothing test. Alright, so quite a different result here. The SIG V-Crown 365 went in right above our Corbon, and pretty similar wound channel there. The 365 V-Crown continued traveling, left our first gel block, and stopped right there in our second gel block. It does look like it's definitely fully expanded, and looks like it performed really nicely. And the SIG V-Crown 365 looks like it stopped just shy of 21 inches. Alright guys, the next round we're going to test is the 90 grain Underwood Extreme Defender. This bullet says it is going 1,400 feet per second, which is really lightweight and really fast for a 9mm. Now, I've never seen these bullets before. I mean, I've seen them online and stuff, but I've never actually shot them, and I'm kind of curious to see how this performs because it does not have a hollow point cavity and it has a really unique shape on that bullet there. So let's load it up and see how it does. Alright, so our Underwood Extreme Defender is the one on the top. You can see for the first 3 or 4 inches, the wound channel was pretty standard, and then right there, it dramatically grew. So I imagine this bullet was probably tumbling inside that gel, continued traveling down the gel block, and stopped right there, and it is turned backwards. But you can see that that bullet is in pretty much the same condition it was before we fired it. So leads me to believe that the purpose of this bullet is probably to tumble or spin inside that gel, and that is what causes the expanded wound channel right there. Now the Underwood Extreme Defender stopped at about 14.5 inches inside of our gel. Alright guys, the fourth and final round we're going to test is the 147 grain Winchester White Box Jacketed Hollow Point. Alright guys, I got the Winchester White Box loaded up in my Glock 43 here. And in the last video, a lot of you guys liked that I tested the Remington UMC, which I explained was a cheap, affordable round that you can find at pretty much any Walmart. And I figured I'd go ahead and throw this one in because this also is a much more affordable round than any of the other ones that we've tested today. So let's see how the Winchester White Box does compared to our more expensive rounds. Alright guys, so it's kind of hard to see from this side, but our Winchester White Box went in behind our SIG V-Crown that's in there. And you can't really see the wound channel from this side, but you can see the bullet, which is right there. And it kind of expanded in a weird way. It didn't really flatten out at all. I have tested this bullet once before, and it performed a little bit differently. So maybe that's just an issue with the price you pay. You maybe get less consistency. That's very likely. But from the top of the gel block here, you can see the wound channel. It is that one right there. And it looks like that bullet definitely fragmented a little bit right there and stopped in our gel right there. I will dig these bullets out here in a minute, of course, and see how they look. But that is the 147 grain Winchester White Box. And the Winchester stopped around 13 inches into our first gel block. Alright guys, so I'm going to quickly show you the bullets that I pulled out of the ballistics gel. The first one here is the 115 grain plus P Corbon DPX. And you can see that there is some clothing in the cavity of that hollow point. But this one performed really well, and this bullet opened up to a very large diameter. By far the most expansion that we got out of the 4 bullets that we shot today. So the Corbon DPX did really well. The second bullet that we shot is the SIG V-Crown 365. This one also has some clothing on the cavity of that hollow point. This one penetrated the furthest out of the 4, but did expand and also performed really well. Now the third one here is the Underwood Extreme Defender, and this is an interesting bullet. After I did the ballistic shell test, I kind of looked up a little bit more information on this to see how it works, and it says that it uses rotational energy and the fluting that's around that bullet to create its large wound channel, and that's what allows it to stop in the ballistic shell and not over penetrate. But this one definitely had the largest wound channel out of the 4 that we shot and performed really well. This is also definitely the most expensive bullet that I shot today. Now the fourth one here is the cheapest bullet that I shot today. This is the 147 grain Winchester White Box, and it did not do very well. It didn't really expand at all. It didn't flatten out at all, and it just kind of looks like it was trying to open up but didn't really get there. There was no clothing or anything clogged in this hollow point, but I'm sure that affected it. Now it did stay in the ballistics gel block, which is kind of surprising based off how little it expanded. I've done some tests with this one in the past, and it left our first gel block when I tested it several months ago. So, not really sure. It just seems to be maybe kind of an inconsistent bullet. But it did stop in the gel. It just did not expand very much at all. And here are the 4 bullets side by side. You can kind of get an idea of how much that Corbon DPX expanded when you look at it next to the other 3 that we shot. Well, that's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed the video. These are starting to become a lot of fun for me, and I like getting the suggestions from you guys and bringing them out and seeing how they perform. So I do have a lot more to go, and I've seen all of your guys' suggestions, and I will get to all those bullets, and we will get those tested. It's not cheap, and it might take some time, but just be patient with me and we will get those videos out. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up for me. Thank you for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.